what were your personal feelings and opinions at that time?
Yeah. Well, I was I dealt with East German history before, some years before, because the professor I was working for, he had to write a book about Germany after 1945, and he wanted to integrate an East German perspective. So I did some research for him, and I realized that in West Germany very little was known about East German history. So in a way I was kind of prepared. But I also have to admit I was absolutely surprised by the opening of the border and the falling down of the wall. Absolutely. Partly because I was in the midst of preparing my final exams at the university, so I had other things to think about. So I was not too open for history itself taking place. So afterwards I was, as many West Germans, surprised but not too enthusiastic, because we had kind of accepted things as they have been. We accepted that there was two German states existing with different systems, and so it took some time for us to admit, or to admit to ourselves that there might be a chance to reunify these two systems, and that might possibly be not detrimental for West Germans.
Was there thinking, well, they're Germans like us, so we should be in the same state? Was there a brotherhood, ethnic brotherhood?
Well, for older Germans, definitely. For younger Germans, it took some time to realize that fact, that we used to belong to the same culture. A lot of West Germans were in a state of mind thinking that nation states would have been overcome, and they wouldn't belong to the future. Instead, that we would integrate into a European kind of state. So that afterwards then was also one of the major questions of reunification, that it was closely linked to integration into Europe.
So I grew up in West Berlin, not so far from the wall. Actually, there was a playground right in the shadow of the Berlin Wall. And we used to play there a lot because there was a street, and the wall kind of ended the street. So there was no traffic and we could play peacefully. And once in a while we would make faces to the guys in the watchtower. So I grew up, and it was, for us West Berliners, it was total normality. So I would never ask my parents, why is there a wall? Or why do we have to wait for many hours to have our passports checked if you want to visit our relatives in West Germany? So I didn't have, before the wall fell, I didn't have that feeling, oh, it will happen soon, or it should happen soon. It was a steady state, and it was basically accepted by people of my generation. Then came the 9th of November. And I still remember sitting with my father in front of the TV, and we watched the news of people, dancing on the Berlin Wall. And we saw that, and we didn't believe it really. It was strange for us, and it was so far without our mental reach that we couldn't grasp it. We couldn't wrap our head around it. So we switched off the television and went to bed. Next morning, we got up again and the news was still there. So then we slowly started to realize, and then my father said, come on, let's go to one of these checkpoints that were opening up, Bernauer Straße in the north. And he was very sweet because he said, well, these people must have waited in the cold for a long time to come over. So he brought a little thermos with coffee. So that he wanted to give people hot coffee when they come over freezing. In these days after reunification, there was a lot of mobility. So Eastern Germans would, really come in masses to West Berlin. And then some of them didn't think if they could get back in time, so they didn't know where to sleep. So in my parents' house, we had a few guests who, just like by chance were close to our house. So we said, okay, you can spend the night and go home tomorrow. This was very enthusiastic. But the moment that I really understood what had happened was the moment when someday I took my bike and I cycled down that same street that was blocked by the wall where I had played when I was a kid. And all of a sudden there was no longer a wall. And then I went on and there was countryside and there was a village. And I understood that this village on the eastern side had been there all my life, but I didn't know. And then next spring, that was the spring of 1990, I decided with a few friends of mine to take that further. And we took our bike, went that same street and went all the way first through East Germany, then over the Erzgebirge to Bohemia. And it was such an amazing thing that we kept on going on our bikes. So we went from Bohemia to Prague, and then we went from Vienna down the Danube to Budapest, and we just couldn't stop. So we went back into Slovakia, went to the Tatra, and all the way to Košice, almost at the Ukrainian border. And then the summer was over and we had to return. But all of a sudden we realized we could go on and on and on, and we just wouldn't stop. This is how I understood that something had really changed.
What is your opinion about the reunification of Germany?
I'm very happy about it.
You're very happy?
Because I knew all parts of Germany after the war. I'm born in 1933.
You were born in 1933?
And so I had seen the end of the war, and I had seen occupation and division of Germany. And I went out of East Germany to study in West Germany, yes, because my father had been Protestant pastor.
Okay.
Then I studied in Germany in Munich and in Paris. I taught in Germany and in Iran and in France and in university. I visited my mother in East Germany and my sister in East Berlin, both. So we had been very happy in 1989 with the reunification. My father didn't see it. He died already in 1956. But my mother was very happy. And me too, of course.
What are your feelings about the reunification after the falling of the wall?
I'm happy that the wall is falling down when now the wall exists. I were a young man who tried to escape the GDR.
You were living in Eastern.
Yeah, I was born I was born in the north of the GDR, in the near of the Baltic Sea, in the Usedom. And I think I was some of the guys who tried to escape. I was 11 years old when the wall is falling down, and I'm very happy.